Alright, welcome back to another Conquest Corner. On this particular episode, we will be going through the updates from October for the city-states. I plan on getting these out a little bit faster, but I ended up just getting busy with a bunch of other things, both between work and playing some Dead Space Remastered and stuff like that, because it was October and, for Halloween and all of that. But we have this and the other two that you should be seeing coming out one day after each other, starting this one probably the day of recording for this one, so you should get the other ones before the weekend's out. All right, before we get into this, keep in mind that if you're looking to pick up anything for Conquest, we do have a discount code in the show notes below. It's Train Kickers. Saves you 10%, helps us out as well, especially if you're looking at picking up anything for the holidays. Can save you a bit of money and I know they're doing if you spend enough money, you can get a Angry Christmas Chicken as well. So save yourself some money while you're doing that. Pick up a little bit extra as well. All right, if this is the first time you watch one of these, I'm going to go through what the different updates are, the changes as I see them, what it means for the army, all of that. I try to make sure I don't miss anything, but if I do, let me know. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments below. But I try to make sure I vet this pretty well first, but there's always a shot. I know sometimes they've changed some stuff as well. All right, so new is on the left, old is on the right. Let's take a look. So the very first change, or part change, part not, is auxiliary stands. The base rules of auxiliary stands haven't really changed. They just made it read a little clearer and look at it a little bit nicer. To me, at least for my purposes, this is the way they were always played. So if some people were not, then I don't know, maybe people were doing stuff a little bit different than I was. But to me, that's how it was always essentially played. But they made it a lot cleaner to be able to read. The big change is that now that Sacred Band are out, Sacred Band actually can be taken auxiliary. I believe it's only the Phalangites and the Gema that can do that. We'll check to be sure. I think they're the only ones that do. But you can actually take them. And we'll take a look at what was before. So it was always the Minotaurs. Now you have this extra one. And one, they have Cleave, which is nice. They lose some of the other rules. They give them their stats that matter. But the other part is they have the Sacred Warriors. So friendly Sacred Band regiments that are within 12 can target this unit with their self-spells. So the Sacred Band have spells that work on themselves. If you're within 12, you can target this unit instead. So you can be giving bonuses to your Phalangites or your Gema. And we'll take a look at those spells and talk about what that could mean. Pause there for a second. I thought about it. I'm going to wait till we get to it to kind of talk about it. All right, one thing that's brand new, of course, is the Perian Oracle now exists. So you have another big old Titan, and you got rewarded things to call them Titans. So, of course, it has to have its own supremacy. And it's bringing back the Children of Fire. Friendly Titan regiments, so your big boys are Titans, gain Priest +3 special rule. So remember, but all of them have abilities to cast. Now you cast a little bit extra. In addition, when a friendly Titan regiment activates from the strategic stack, the regiment counts as 6 stands for the purpose of seizing objective zones to the end of the turn. It's always active. Monsters in general count as 3, unless there's some weird thing otherwise, but generally they're always 3, so you get to double up. You're now 6 stands, which means you're probably outclassing most. Realistically, that's one of the things that City States is really good at. They're really good at grabbing objectives because they have units that you can't supersede or that turn off your ability to grab an objective if certain things happen, or counting 6 stands. That's more than most other units that you would be facing would be. And unless you actually take down a Titan, then it still is the 6 stands. You can't break a Titan or anything like that. Maybe with a crazy spell, but short of anything like that could come out at some point. Overall, I like it. If you're wanting to run a bunch of these big boys, it's actually a really good ability for them. It's going to mean that your Festins and all that kind of stuff, you're actually getting your spells off a lot more regularly. All right, when we take a look at some character changes, the only character that really got a change, other than the Promethean, who didn't exist before, was the Eidolon. So, Darkhand of the Scalia used to be you couldn't take more than 2 regiments of Inquisitors. Now has the base rule you can't take more than 3 regiments. So they're letting you take an extra, which is good because this is the spot where you take Inquisitors. And what Darkhand of Scalia does now, at the beginning of the character stance activation, before draw events, you select an enemy regiment that's on the battlefield, whether or not you can see them. It just had to exist. That now is the hunted unit for the game. You can select a new one if the previous one that you selected is dead. But either way, your Inquisitor regiments when they go against the hunted unit, are terrifying 2. So the Eidolon calls out who to attack, and you get terrifying 2 versus that thing that you are attacking there. If you now against some armies, obviously it's garbage if you're playing against Old Dominion or something like that. But you also have some armies where this is super strong. I'm thinking, say even like Dweg, because Dweg tend to have really good resolves, or because of their unit size get good, really good resolves. Terrifying 2, lowering them by 2, assuming they can have terrifying effect them. I know not all units do. That can absolutely do a whole lot. Or if you're looking at some of these monsters that's sitting at resolve 4, I can get through the defense okay, but I'm not really getting through the resolve. Well, now instead you're on resolve 2. And if, say 3s and 2s or 2s and 2s or something like that, depending on the other aspects of what you have going on, you can really get through some stuff that you might have struggled with before. So I think that's a nice boost for him. Without him changing points, he got better. And we'll go through some of his other stuff. Sorry, his combat directives are there, but one of the upgrades gives you some new ones. So that's the only character that really got different, other than, of course, the Perian Oracle. I do want to discuss it. I don't want to do the full deep discussion here, or at least right this moment, because I think it might take a while. So maybe I'll see how long this video is. And I do want to talk about it, but I might save that for another time. Overall, what I'll say, I like pretty much every monster they put out. I think some of them become a little bit weak. I'm thinking like Abomination and all, although there's got some updates. But overall, if they're doing something with that, and I like the idea between this and Nords now, that if you want to run monsters, you have that sort of option. Because this one is only taking Titans. So your ability to run that, if you want, I think is great, or your ability to get a little bit more. So your Promethean is your mainstay, your Hephaestus and Talos are your restricted. So if you happen to have multiple of them, you can outrun them. Or if you just have a Hephaestus, a Promethean, and this guy, hey, you can just run those 3, and then you're not locked in to either taking other units or taking particular characters to take them in the spots that you need. But I'll go back to that guy. So I just don't know if I'll get through them all today. But overall, I'll say that I like him. So let's take a look at some upgrades. Standard duration went down. It used to be 55 points. It went down by 25 points. Standard duration, I think, is very, very strong. But it was the sort of, when you're losing something important is when it comes into play. This is the one that, when that regiment gets destroyed, your opponent can't seize that spot. So yeah, if the objective zone can be seized, the controlling player counts as seizing it during the victory phase. So they just take that spot no matter what. Really good, but 55 points, that is a bit expensive. It was probably, I know Steve took it a good bit, because I played him quite a few times with it. Maybe other people just weren't, because it is, I get this objective, but I had to lose my unit to get it. So cheapen up the fact that it's costing me a lot to do, effectively. All right, we got some more character upgrades. Hephaestus Alloys has changed. So it used to reduce Aura Death by 2. Now, any regiment contact currently is the Aura Death by 4. Remember, Aura Death is different now. Aura Death is no longer a per stand. If you were touching my unit and I have Aura Death, you will take that number. So they up the amount that it removes. Because it used to be stands was 2 per stand. Now it's the regiment, 4 total for the regiment. So scaled appropriately to what you would have. When we take a look at the modifications, so these are things for the Eidolon, we see that the special rules, combat directives, and Hardened 2 lost the Aura Death was the change there. So it used to give Aura Death as well, no longer gets Aura Death. Masteries. We do have some Masteries changes. Let me put this that way. There we go. I want to be able to show that says Masteries. All right, so for our Masteries changes, Initiative, entirely red as you see. What it used to do, normally you draw your card, then strategic stack. What this lets you do instead of drawing a natural card, just strategic stack and then pass it. So it gave you some options about the timing of that. What it does now, which is quite different, is that when a regiment, this character stand is attached to activates from the strategic stack, at the end of the activation, one friendly infantry regiment within 10 inches gets a free out of sequence march or perform. Remember, if it's out of sequence, you're not limited to the 3. It's 3 actions during your activation. So if who you have it comes from the strategic stack, you get to move or reform another unit. This action does not cause the regiment to count as activated, obviously. The old initiative was actually pretty good, because that means, in some ways, I guess if the timing mattered, although you have the back and forth, so maybe it wasn't quite as big, because you could always do unit strategic stack, so it really would help if you were misaligned. So if you happen to have your units placed backwards, oh, I need the strategic stack unit to get out of the way to do something, so that way my other unit can activate. But otherwise, I think this is a really nice change. Getting any more movement, especially for some of your units with phalanx that are getting restricted on how fast that they can move. You don't have banners in, or how far they can charge, I should really say, not really the movement. But you also don't have banners. So anything like this is absolutely going to help you out. Next upgrade. Much cheaper. Expert Scouts went down by 30 points. They are pushing more that City-States is about their strategic stack, and that's exactly what this did. What Expert Scouts used to do before is, as long as you purchase this upgrade, if your infantry unit doesn't have phalanx, then you get Vanguard when you came in that round, when you came off the board. What it does now is, same condition, your infantry unit without phalanx, but it's when they come off their strategic stack, they get Vanguard. So that means it's more restricted as to when you can get it, but you can repeatedly get it, especially if you want certain spots. So you'll get that extra move on some of these units. So we look at who this stuff can help. We're taking a look at units like your Aima, Sonore, Solani, units like that. So a lot cheaper and useful, especially if you're taking those sort of units. I know they used to have ways to be able to remove phalanx or to not count as phalanx. I don't think that's as common anymore. At least I can't think of spots, but it's at least a lot cheaper. All right, when we get to spells, so we talked about how that Sacred Band that you can count if you have an auxiliary within the right range, that you can do it there as well. So for what you could do, the attunement for Monolabe is now a 3. Does the same thing, lets you heal, so that does mean you can heal those other units, which is quite useful. The other thing, Athismos, it used to be that you got blessed. Sorry, my apologies. You lose bless, because you used to be blessed. You lose bless. You reroll failed defense and morale until the end of the round, and your command stand is 3 stands. What it does now, you gain Indomitable 3 until the end of the round. Remember, Indomitable is related to failed morale. So you auto pass 3 of your failed morale, and then your 2 additional stands for seizing instead of, I think it was 3 additional stands. So you're only 2. They've pretty much capped that everywhere. So that means your command stand can essentially be 3, count as 3 stands, but you have Indomitable 3. That is also very useful because, like I said, we talked about how Phalangites or Aima can take that Sacred Band piece. So if your Sacred Band unit isn't in position to care about that because the other unit's the one that's getting hit, well, now they're auto-passing 3 of those morales. They're sticking around a lot better. Overall, I like the change. Thorkides get Vanguard. Notice they are not one of the units that has phalanx, so you could use that upgrade to get them further as well. But they have Vanguard. Really helpful. They're your lights. Your lights are setting the line. And if your lights can't set the line by moving very far, they're not helping you at all. As someone who runs ghouls, yeah, getting up 18 inches of the field means I actually have a reinforcement line. Getting up 12, that means if they come in turn 2, they're probably not better coming in from the back of the board than they would be from the side. At least that's what I find. Hoplites, small change. Yeah, Darlartes went down to 15 points. I know Darlartes are different, so we'll get to them shortly. Phalangites went up in points, so they're now 150. They used to be 130, so they're more expensive. Darlartes, again, for them went cheaper, and now they take Sacred Band. So they didn't take any auxiliaries before. Now they can take the Sacred Band. Because they have the Sacred Band, that could also do why you get a points increase, because now you have to account for you could have those spells. Other big things, they got an extra attack. They used to be 4 attacks. They got an extra clash. They're now clash 3. Remember, with Phalanx, you can't naturally be inspired, or you can't get the bonuses from inspired. which means on 2s, you were really bad. You didn't hit anything. On 3s, that's actually respectable. And 5 attacks, now you have extra attacks. You are lowering enemies' impact. If you get that spell on you, then your resolve of 3, probably a 4 because of your unit size. You're taking these big units. And Indomitable 3, if you want to cast it on them, means this brick is not moving. This is something your opponent's going to be standing at for quite a while. Your defense isn't amazing. You have phalanx on defense too, so not necessarily amazing, but decent defense. Resolve's going to be hard to get through, and you're hitting better. I think that's a worthwhile change. I would absolutely pay 20 points for those sort of changes. Aima, only change with Aima is now they also can take the Sacred Band. Before they got nothing, now they're taking Sacred Band. They were a little bit more expensive. Which one I would do? They have very different purposes. Aima are wanting to get out there and fight. Now, Sacred Band are Cleave 2, Aima are Cleave 1. So that means this unit it's matching the purpose well. And then you could put some spells on it. For the other one, for your Phalangites, they hit more, but now you at least have one stand that gets some cleave into it to help guarantee you get some wounds into someone. And again, thinking about the spells that you could put on it. Good here. I think very good there, although otherwise stats are somewhat similar. Actually, if you look at their base things, they're rather similar because shield instead of phalanx. I think I like them in Phalangites a little bit more personally, but that's because I think it works better for what I would want them to be doing. All right, we're on to the Sacred Band. So Sacred Band are an entire rework. Actually, just for continuity's sake, I recorded this and then I kept catching things that had changed. I didn't notice all of it at once. So they're 10 points cheaper. I will start by saying I didn't really see Sacred Band, but I think that's because they're reasonably new and it takes some people time to build them up. And their purposes, I feel, are 100% different than what they used to do. So for an idea of what they used to do, they had Blessed. And remember, their old spell used to remove Blessed, and then you could reroll defense and morales. Devout, they had Phalanx, so essentially they were defense 4, resolve 3, priest 4, support 2, so you could run them as a different type of defensive unit. I would see this maybe as like a 2x2 brick or something like that, where you're getting those support, and since they don't have any bonuses on attack, they're only Clash 2, Clash 2, you're more of trying to protect with them. But their spell wasn't a free action. So, and they had the upgrade of the Seer. Now let's take at the new one for what they do. So that was more of a defensive unit, which Phalangites are defensive already. So this is just a different defensive unit. They're now 190. They're heavy, so they're going to come in potentially a little bit later. Their move went up by 1. Clash is now 3, better by 1. 5 attacks, 5 wounds, 4 resolve. Every stat other than defense that they care about went up by 1. No evade, but hey, you're humans, you don't get evade. They lost Blessed, so no longer Blessed. But your resolve is better. We talked about that spell giving you Indomitable 3, and these guys are fearless. So that does mean, for resolve purposes, if you get the spell off before, you don't really care. Your defense is worse overall because it used to be 3 and then Phalanx, so 4s, but you're now in a set 3. You are 1 better priest, you're priest 5, so easier to cast your spells, although you are devout, so not quite as needed. Helpful for when you're casting it out, I suppose, because you can cast it onto an auxiliary stand. You're a Cleave 2. So, you used to be much more defensive in certain ways. You were 4s and 3s, now you're 3s and 4s. But, no more Phalanx, so now you can be inspired, so you're on Clash 3, you can get up to 4. And Cleave 2 means now you're actually carving through people. You no longer need to be looking to, say, like the Minotaurs, to be getting a bunch of your Cleave. I know some of the other things can do it as well, but that's the other main spot that I kind of see. That's sort of a push for Thyrines. Now you actually have a defensible unit that can get a good amount of Cleave. And the spell casting is now free. They may do 1, but you get 1 for free. No more Seer, but they're removing people across the board. I absolutely love the change to Sacred Band. I think they're much better. I think they now fit a purpose that you were missing before. You know, when you think of, say, Thyrines have a lot of Cleave, but very bad defense, so they can't take the hit. They're a glass cannon entirely. These guys are much, much sturdier. They're showing up a little bit later, but almost everything about them has been improved in terms of the lethality. Especially with that Cleave 2, I think it's really, really strong. So I rate these guys as much, much better. My guess, the original Sacred Band just wasn't doing what they felt this army needed more of. This army had multiple defensive type units. Now give them some other way to get offense that isn't just more Minotaurs. Clockworks got a shield. They used to be Phalanx. So remember, Phalanx does have some negatives. You can't inspire. Your charge is move +3, so you don't even bother rolling. It's good if you want to guarantee, say, the 8-inch charge, but if it's a 9-inch, you don't even get a shot at it. Now, instead of Phalanx, they have shields. So they get the same defense they had before, but now they can actually charge further. They can be inspired. Can absolutely help them out quite a bit. Flurry was nice, but Flurry on 2s is really rough. I've done that before. Flurry on 3s helps you out a whole lot. All right, that's the main change for them, or the only change for them. Companion Cav. Companion Cav went down by 20, which I think helps out quite a lot, and they got more impact. They used to be impact 2, they're now impact 3. The clash did not change. That's actually stayed the same. So these are your medium Cav that got better for what you want them to do. With impact 3, now you can go against lighter units and potentially wipe them down. They also went down by 10 points a stand. So they were good before, just too expensive for what they did. Your Inquisitors. Inquisitors dropped by 20. And now your Eidolon can take an extra, so maybe you can afford a little bit more. Your Resolve went down, but your defense went up. They used to be 2s and 5. They're now 3 and 4. I prefer that. I think super high Resolve is just... Okay, if you're something that has no Resolve, like a Clockworks or Old Dominion, that is just baked into your costs. But otherwise, if you're going to roll for it all, I want there to be a shot that you actually miss. And on 5s, you're not honestly going to miss. Now, you have a shot at missing, but you'll take less of them overall because your defense is a little bit better. I prefer that. I think that's just a good gameplay change, if not a better strength change. I think overall it's probably a better strength change as well, but that's the main things for them. When we take a look at your big guys, the biggest thing is that, one, they are Titan, which makes sense. Sorry, there it goes. Sorry, I went too far on the other page. Oh, because they changed the order a bit. Your Promethean and your Hephaestus are at 11 attacks. They used to be at 10. I think they were both 10. Yeah, both 10, so they both gained an attack, and they're now Titans. That's their changes. Talos, we know, after Worlds was going to get some changes because it was an exceedingly popular monster at Worlds. I don't remember if it's a list that won or not, but I know most, each list round 1 and one list round 2. So he's 10 more points expensive. Not much of a change there. Impact went down by 1. Used to be impact 6. Now it's down to 5. And the attacks went down by 1. So not huge changes. I'd rather them make small alterations over time rather than change something, nerf it into the ground, and then everyone runs from it. So some nice small changes there. Minotharans got Tenacious 1. So now they have a tiny bit of defense. Because notice, their defense 2, Resolve 3, so now at least you're saving a little bit more. I think that's actually the only change for them. Yeah, otherwise that's about it. Your Chariots. Chariots were another super, super popular option. You used to be able to take 3 Chariots in a slot. You can now only take 2. Which helps because I think every list had a minimum of 3+ Chariots. For some people, okay, when a game changes, what can happen? I understand that it is very disconcerting for people. However, keep in mind that you want things good for the health of the game, not just because it makes your army super great. Taking more Chariots made you, being able to take more Chariots in the same slot made you better, because then you could get away with other choices easier. You didn't have to worry about taking extra characters or using up the slots that you wanted for other things. But it wasn't healthy for the game. So when they pull this back, if you're the type who's, well, I had 3 Chariots, what do I do now? Well, you change your list. When updates like this happen, you should expect some list changes. Maybe we'll, I wanted to do a separate video about the ways I look at to make changes to lists when updates happen and the process that I go through for that, because I think it's interesting to talk about. But if they're going to change something, if they're going to nerf me in a way that's helpful for the game, please do. I care more about that I'm going to keep having opponents and people to play and tournaments to go to, and when I run tournaments, people show up. then my army was a little bit better and I stomped you a little bit more. So the Phlegmon is now 12-inch range. It used to be 10, so a little further range. And the Scorpios, its main rule now. So before, if you're in the flank or rear, they re-roll the ones on defense. Now you have to be, I think it's in any regiments will become the target and volley action within effective range. There it is. You have to be in effective range. So they got to be closer to have it happen now. All right. Command model. We talked a few times about how the Dolores changed points. That's because the Dolores is different. Notice there is less of them. They got rid of the Seer, the Satyr Assassin. So all of those are gone. But the Dolores is different now. What it used to do, depending on the unit that you had. So in Phalangites, you got Flurry. In Hoplites, Relentless Blows. The character stand got Relentless Blows. What it does now, if your enemy charges that unit, you are inspired. So it helps to be more defensive. You're looking at some of these units, especially ones that take Dolores. The whole point is someone is hitting you. You are standing on objective. You are daring them to try and move you. So now you're going to get inspired. It does make a timing thing. So you do want to make sure that they're doing something to you first, but you're talking about the units that tend to be more defensive, so you're absolutely fine with that, or you should be fine with that. Also, if you come off their strategic stack, that regiment and in auxiliaries get Relentless Blow, and currently attached character stand, so everything in there gets Relentless Blows. Oh, sorry. Before I said it was character stand, everything got the Relentless Blows. My apologies. Everything got Relentless Blows. Now it essentially does the same thing, but you come off their strategic stack. It's not just Hoplites. When you're taking a look at Dolores, for Dolores, you are looking at Hoplites and Phalangites. So those are the two spots that you're taking them. Just wanted to make sure they were the only two. They are the only two. But you're no longer altering what can happen. So you're getting a little bit of a buff from both of them. You're able to have both pieces. Okay, so just to make sure it's clear, Phalanx doesn't let you not be inspired. It means you can't take the inspire action. It used to be stronger. It used to be more restrictive. So that means your Phalangites with the Dolores do get inspired. Because you are allowed to be inspired, you're just not allowed to take the action itself. So, very strong in that. Actually, I pulled it up in the rules here because I just wanted, oops, sorry. There it is. I just wanted to go through and make sure of that. Otherwise, it's not really different. So that means putting a Dolores is cheaper. I'm liking what it does as long as you're playing in defensive fashion. You should be anyway, but play them defensively. Get to a spot, dare your opponent to come in and hit you. Then you can be inspired. That means if you're talking about Phalangites, now you're going to be hitting on 4s, especially if it's a horse unit, unless they get to a side or someone like that. You're not so worried because impact -3, all of that. So I think that's a great improvement, and I think the fact that they can take Sacred Band is super, super good as well. All right, so I think this video is too long to go through the Oracle. Like I said, overall I like it. I'll do some more discussion later related to the Oracle. What I'll say right now, I think they helped differentiate some of their units. I think they made certain of their defensive units, especially Phalangites, better. I think, sorry, I'm scrolling through the other thing. Sacred Band, I like a lot more. I think they now serve a purpose. I think before they were just another defensive unit. Now they actually do something for you. I know that the feel of city-states is, I am on a spot, dare you to hit me, and then I will hammer you back. At least the way I saw them run. I think the change to the Sacred Band means that now you can play a more aggressive play style. I think the changes to the Talos are great because the Talos was a little bit much. Thrakites now having Vanguard means that you'll actually have reinforcement lines. And changes to their masteries and gear perfectly made sense. They took gear that I thought was good, but probably way too expensive, cheapened it up, and altered a little bit of what it did or gave it a purpose in what this new, I don't want to say addition, in this post-October updates looks like. So I'll do a separate thing at some point. Maybe I'll have Steve and we'll discuss the Promethean Oracle. But and build some, I don't know, say building lists, because you kind of know what the list should be, but more of a discussion about it. But that is the updates for city-states. They got quite a few. Most of them are very small little pieces, but they add up to, I think, being a very meaningful change. I think this helps out the army a lot. I think overall all the armies got better, but I think this is an army that probably gained, other than the ones that got the full rework, I think they might have gained the most, personally. All right, but that'll do it for us on this particular video. Like I said, keep in mind, if you want to buy anything for Conquest, we do have a discount code, Train Kickers, in the show notes below. But beyond that, on behalf of everyone here at the show, has a good hobbying. It's a great gaming.